Jacobs. As part of being on the DeKalb Operations Task Force, are you guys still handling the issue of host?
Yes.
Okay. With host being such an important piece of the revenue stream for the new cities, what things are you talking about with host, and will it affect any of the percentages that are coming to the cities now? Because it's an 80-20 split. What conversations are you having about it? And I'll go back over there and let you guys answer. Thanks.
Sure. Well, I don't know that the.
Ask them to hit a question. Ask them to hit a
Did everyone hear the question?
Explain the question.
No. Okay. The question is, in essence, what the conversations over host are over at the Operations Task Force. That's the gist of the question.
And Mike, what it does.
Yeah, host right now, let me give everyone a quick education on this. Host right now is the penny we pay for property tax reduction in DeKalb County. It is split into 80% and 20%. Host itself generates about $100 million in annual revenue, okay? The 80% basically goes straight back into your property tax bill to reduce the amount that you pay in county government property taxes. And if you look, there's a column on your property tax bill that says host credit, and that's what that is. The remaining 20% is used for infrastructure. And the way that it is divvied up now is according to a formula that was put in place a few years back. Now, the intent of the formula is that cities don't receive the host credit on the city line item of their property tax bill that is the equivalent of the county special services tax district. So the intent of this formula is to credit the cities for that amount that they don't get, plus their infrastructure funding. The problem with that is that the more cities that are created, the smaller the pool of remaining infrastructure funding for the county is. And now it's down to about 1.5 million out of the 20 million that would exist. Dunwoody gets about 5 million of that. Brookhaven gets about 5 million of that. Right now, there's a lot of back and forth over this very issue on the task force. There is some conversation about going to 100% host. There may be another SPLOST included in that, and if that were to occur, then everybody would share in some kind of equal way that probably would make the probably make the cities whole and then some. So the cities would actually get a bigger slice of that than they're currently getting, but the county obviously would get a much bigger slice of that because all they're getting is $1.5 million now. So that's not an endorsement of the proposal, and I want to be clear about that because right now these conversations are at a very early preliminary stage. But the general idea is that, I recognize this, okay, that right now we have a formula imposed on host that while I understand the logic behind it as a resident of a city, I also understand why citizens in unincorporated areas look at it and say that's unfair. And so that's the issue we need to fix. Ultimately, the cities need infrastructure funding, but the county needs infrastructure funding, and how we work all of that out. Now, if we go to 100% host, of course, that means everybody's host credit on their property tax bills is going up. And that's especially true if we apply that across the city and county line items. Now, again, very early stage of the discussions. I don't know where this is going to end up, and I also am not, endorsing any particular approach. But it's definitely an issue that we're looking at, and it's being looked at with an eye toward not shortchanging anybody.
The only thing I would add is it's going to be very difficult to change that formula until the citizens of this county believe that their government is credible. To try to talk about another SPLOST, which means another penny of tax, I don't think there's anybody in this room who's going to raise their hand for that based upon the credibility of the DeKalb County government. So it'll be very difficult, I think, probably one of the more difficult things to do anything about going forward until DeKalb County, with its citizenry, gets some kind of credibility, which we do not have with our citizens right now.
And I'll say, I mean, I agree with that sentiment. And that's, I mean, it's just a difficult issue all the way around. But again, I mean, when you get right down to, you know, what the formula is on that 20%, I mean, again, there's a logic behind it. I understand the logic behind it, but the flip side of it is that, you know, citizens in the unincorporated areas don't believe it's fair, and I understand why they don't believe it's fair.
But what also isn't fair, our problem with infrastructure in DeKalb County,
Last time.
we pay for Grady and we pay for MARTA. And so does Fulton. But Gwinnett doesn't, Cobb doesn't, and they've got all this money for transportation because we're paying for Grady by ourselves. And we're how it works now. And we're paying for MARTA by ourselves with Fulton. And that's why we don't have the transportation dollars that these surrounding counties do. And I think a lot of us aren't real happy with that either.
Yeah, and the one thing I can promise you, sorry, there's been a lot of discussion about this issue, so I don't mean to keep going back and forth, Mr. Chairman. But the one thing I'll add to all of that is that on host, you know, some task force members are looking at it and saying, well, you know, we're just subsidizing homesteaded property owners and we ought to just repeal it. Not gonna happen. Realize what that means. If it is repealed, that host credit, which amounts to hundreds, sometimes, you know, 1,000 plus, on your property tax bill just goes away and your property tax bill goes up by that amount. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
All those stuff would be cheaper to buy.
You're bad.
Hi, my name is Mary Shellman. I'm not from this area. I live in Medlock area, which is one of the areas that Mary Kay referenced as being an area that's up in the air. And I just wanted to, I wasn't planning to speak, but I wanted to just put it in your ear that I think the annexation that City of Decatur is proposing is really unfair to my neighborhood. They're coming in and just cherry picking the commercial areas, you know, the Emery Point on all four corners, and then they're taking Suburban Plaza and want to go all the way down to Patel Plaza, which is the Medline district. I was a principal participant in the Medline study, which was an Atlanta regional study that we just finished after 6 months of meetings. A lot of people in my neighborhood were part of that and the surrounding area. Now, Decatur wants to come in and just take the entire Medline district without annexing any of the residential. And we're about 1,300 houses, single-family houses in that neighborhood. So they're taking all the commercial along one end, and then North Decatur Road, and then up Claremont. So we'll be surrounded by commercial City of Decatur, and, you know, with no benefits and no. I mean, we're looking at other options. We're, you know, I'm also trying to hold on to my high school. It's Druid Hills High School. I moved there for Druid Hills, and now I hear, you know, if Druid Hills neighborhood goes with City of Atlanta, they'll take the high school with them. Or if they go with City of Decatur, they'll take the high school with them, and then I'll be without the asset of the high school, which I think is clearly an asset for my home. So I really wish you talk about the equitable distribution of commercial properties, and I know I've been coming to the task force meetings. I know that the Georgia Tech model is supposed to be coming out, but I just don't see how that is going to be there. Your decisions are going to be made in time to influence these annexations and make it so that every area in the central and north and south DeKalb has a viable district around it,
Mary Margaret, your representative?
She is not. She used to be, but now she's City of Decatur.
Who's your representative?
Ron Mayo.
I hear a lot about Decatur and its annexations proposals. And I hear they can't afford to take more residential because of the children and the fact of the schools being filled to capacity.
Right.
That is the problem. I mean, having their own school system and schools being filled to capacity.
Yes.
Could you, since you seem to be quite involved with this, could you just address that statement? Because
That's what, I'm not part of the MANA hierarchy, but they've met with City of Decatur, and City of Decatur has told them that they are not interested in MANA at this time because of the schools, because they don't want more children, and of course, we're a neighborhood of single-family houses, and they don't want to take those houses and put the burden on their school.
how many houses?
It's about 1,300. And there's another, CHCA is Claremont Heights, which is just adjacent to us, is the other neighborhood that has also asked for annexation. And now they're sort of doing an individual petition, but they've been told the same thing we were.
I think you, okay.
Let me make sure I understand it.
Yeah, I do.
The only way this particular annexation would occur in any form is legislatively, right?
Right. Well-
It couldn't be done unless I mean, it's not, the commercial property owners aren't
Asking for that.
asking for
No,
it, right?
they are not asking for it.
I mean, in that case, I mean, I think it's really just a matter for the legislators who represent that area. I mean, obviously, we would all listen to them as DeKalb County legislators.
Right,
but
right.
I
And
mean,
I don't know where Mary Margaret Oliver is on it. I was, like I said, I wasn't planning to speak, but then I thought I might just take the opportunity.
Well,
But
based on her comments, I think she'd be with you.
Well, based on her comments about equitable
Making
distribution,
sure
I
Mr. Earl
would.
writes that down. Yeah.
Right, but I just don't know, you know, and City of Decatur has their map out. And
I mean, I really want to kind of drive this point home with regard to any annexation. I mean, whether it's Lithonia or Stone Mountain or Decatur, you really need to be in close communication with the legislators who represent
Right,
that
and I think that the
particular
MANA board
territory.
is trying to do that now, but I just, as a resident of Medlock, I'm
No.
a part of Good Growth DeKalb too, so I've sort of been on top watching things, but.
I was under the impression that Seelig Enterprises was not in favor of either Suburban Plaza or, don't they also have the
Or
plaza?
the other one, no, they're not in favor, but they don't get a vote. Commercial property owners don't get a vote in annexation.
So
It's
how-
really just what y'all do. It's my understanding for commercial. If there's not a residential component to it, then there's no vote.
All right.
Is that correct?
If the commercial property owner
Agreed.
is
Agrees?
pushing it, yeah, or agrees,
Says
Uh-huh.
they're
yeah,
opposed to it.
yeah.
Two of them, I mean, two big
Okay,
pieces.
thank you.
All right. Yeah, and I know we're running out of time here, but, yeah, and y'all coming together?
Yeah, we are, and,
Oh, well, then.
and we recognize it's getting late.
Yes.
We'll be quick. This is Robert Glover, and I'm Dan Wright. We're on the Blueprints Committee also, the advocacy group. And I want to tell you, first of all, that I'm the chief engineer at MARTA.
Thanks, Robert.
And I really appreciate your recognition of what the authority's doing under Keith's leadership. We're all working hard to try to make things better and make all of our internal processes more efficient. That's my primary responsibility. After making sure that all the projects that are underway now are safe and efficient and go well, I'm developing policy for the authority for all infrastructure development in the future so that we do things in a consistent way. And it's from that perspective that I want to, we would be remiss if we didn't talk to you about the third leg of the Blueprints initiative. And that is, if we have the ethics and the audit in place, we can catch and punish people that do things. But what's missing, the third leg, are the policies to make sure that the county staff are doing things correctly to begin with. And so, without going into all the details, we have some flyers in the back. We'd like everyone to pick up and look at what we have on the web, all the details. But in general, we would like your help to try to change the organizational act in order to restore checks and balances so that the CEO isn't determining what all the procurement policy is.
Only thing I have to add is also in changing that ORC Act, you also must look at the fact that corruption can exist in procurement. American Bar Association's put out papers on it. We have contract splitting here in DeKalb County,
We know that.
so that with your help, hopefully we can get the ORC Act changed so that there are checks and balances between the CEO and the commissioners. Any
Amen.
questions or comments on what we've said?
We agree with you, at least I do.
So you agree? So that means you're going to put that on the docket?
Means that we're gonna we're gonna listen to what the recommendations come back from the task force and look at how we can tweak the organizational act to make the county work more efficient to
So when I
approach
go out,
21st century operation.
He's going to tweak it. Some of us are going to take a sledgehammer, but go ahead.
And
no, the thing I'm going to say is, so that when I go out on the state's website and look at pre-filed bills, I can see that you file a bill, pre-file a bill to take care of this.
We wouldn't pre-file the bill without looking at the work first.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so.
And, first of all, I hope you'll keep this up both with the Operations Task Force and at these meetings. I mean, there's 2 more of these. And I will pledge to you this, once the election is over, because it's a very busy period for all of us, whether or not we have opposition in November, between then and the legislative session, I will bring the Blueprint Group up here to Brookhaven and have a community meeting and use my email list to blast it out and all of that. And I'll be more than happy to host everybody, okay?
Very good.
Before I forget, the recommendations from the task force, we're supposed to be completed our work by 12/1, just so everybody knows. And so we should, whatever's going to be done, will be done by the 1st of December. And then, as you know, we go into session.
Well, we intend to give you semifinal drafts where we've gotten to at
No, I
this point,
understand.
in the next week or
No,
so.
I know, I
And
understand.
just bear in mind, we're lay people, so any help that we can get drafting legislation and crafting it in a way that, where it is feasible, we would appreciate any
I'll
help
have
we
you
could
talk
get.
to my lawyer over here.
Well, I mean, we have a strategy, and we're going to develop a
Oh,
legislative
this lawyer over
strategy
here.
and start writing legislation,
everywhere.
but, this
That
is not
lawyer
what
over
we
there.
do.
That's the problem right there.
Plus, the changes that we are recommending was also part of the special grand jury report
Right.
that came out on January 18, 2013.
Thank you, Ken, for coming and letting us speak.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. This is the IT guy right here.
He's our last guy?
This is the last guy.
Got acquired. Company got acquired.
You're the last one. Oh, Jeff?
Yeah. I'll make this extraordinarily quick. Keith Hanks, I live over in the Briarcliff Lakeside proposed area. Can't thank everyone enough for the effort they've been putting into all of this as of lately. Challenge that I have, and I really think it's an opportunity for the county. I moved here in 2007 from Massachusetts. I know another New England alumni. There's a lot of greatness throughout Atlanta, this region, DeKalb in particular. The challenge, and one of the things that I've been drawn to so much on the cityhood side, is having a sense of identity, a sense to live in somewhere that I knew. And when I moved here, Brookhaven didn't exist, and I knew back then it was going to be someplace special in the future. Now, after losing several houses that I tried to acquire in Brookhaven, that would have been a great purchase, we settled over in the area that we are now. And it's a fantastic area. We've got some of the same challenges that's being discussed here tonight, and I bring this up because you're going to hear the same theme as you go to the other county meetings. When I go towards, I live sort of sandwiched between La Vista and Lawrenceville Highway. When I go to Lawrenceville Highway, I've got the $99 3-night special motels. I've got all the issues that we're hearing in some parts of the county. That's future redevelopment. And the one thing I would say is anything that this group can focus on, I know some of it's operational task force based, but through legislatively as well, anything that can be focused on to help build up the identity of DeKalb. There's a lot of millennials living here, and the reason why I think so many of these areas in DeKalb are not flourishing is because all the folks moving here, they don't know where they are. So it's something that, I'd mentioned to Jason Larry, when he'd gone through the Stonecrest presentation, it's chicken before the egg. You can't bring people into your area to create a city if there's no business, and there's no business without a city. And that's the challenge. I don't know how to legislatively open that up, but I do know these groups have had a hard time getting studies, getting resources, anything that can be kind of academically opened up to help them with this, because I think the areas such as Stonecrest and some of these other areas throughout DeKalb, I think they're getting passed on for Conyers and Covington and areas like that because they have a brand and they have an identity, and we've got a lot of resources in DeKalb in the 285 strip and the I-20 strip that have a lot of potential. Don't really need to open for comments. I know he wants to get in, but I thank you so much for the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
First of all, Representative Stevens sends her regrets her aunt is in the hospital, so she was unable to attend. A year ago, I came before you at Fort Stanford on the issue of the tire law, and, you know, it was, you were not there. My mother's friend who has some property along Parentsville Highway, her children came home early one day and caught a person dumping 200 to 400 somewhat tires on their property. Apparently he was, you know, licensed to dispose of it, but instead of,
Is this the one we've heard about?
no, this is, so they called the police, they got the tag number, they got everything, and, you know, the legislative lady said that, you know, she would get in touch with us. She's lied, I mean, completely. In that year, I've called Commissioner Gannon at the cityhood meeting at the legislature's office, gave her the information. They emailed her, nothing. I called the CEO at the state of DeKalb this year at Port Stanford, gave him, he said he gave his legislative, you know, his aide's email address and number. They did the same thing, nothing. I called Betty Davis at One DeKalb, gave her the information. She said she would email the chief of police the next day. That was in February. More or less, they got.
It's code enforcement.
Well, the issue is that he dumped the tires, but DeKalb County seems to like to find the property owner for the tires and also for the pay to clean them up.
Has tires been dumped?
Yeah,
Any more tires dumped since then?
No, but just down the road from Panola Road, from the library, as you saw on Channel 2, an elderly lady in her 80s in a wheelchair had about 4,000 tires dumped on her thing. And what does the county do? They cite her. And then the family has to pay thousands of dollars to try to clean it up. And then, you know, they can't, so the county issues for her to appear in court, and she don't get the thing, and then she has a bench warrant out for her.
It is.
I meant,
You want to take that to lead, man?
luckily Channel 2, you know, had a story, and she did not get arrested, and somebody came. But, I mean, we've had continuing incidents in the city of Atlanta, tires being dumped in the South River. In my general area, they dumped them on Big Miller Grove Church property in the retaining
Who are
fund.
the commissioners down there?
Well, right now, I don't have a Commission 5 still.
Oh, that's right.
And,
Look at the CEO, though.
well, I mean,
Okay, okay.
They still have it large.
and even just a few weeks in Representative Kendrick's district, a state DA caught somebody dumping, it was like a couple of thousand tires. Actually called, and he said that he was paid to dispose of them, but he was taking the money and just dumping them. So apparently the law is not,
So you would like for us to do something legislatively to strengthen the law around?
Not enforcing the law.
well, the problem is apparently DeKalb County, you know, they're not enforcing state law as it is. I mean, I have all the respect for the police, but when you have the tag number, description of the truck, and they came out, take a report, and the guy had a can that had DNA on it, and you get a runaround for almost 2 years now, you know, guy's probably working for the county, I don't know, but it's something's wrong when you're supposed to take a tire, you pay your dollar, it's supposed to be to pay to dispose of it, they take it off to be disposed, but apparently so-called licensed people are just dumping on private property.
Jeff, have you taken the same discussion during the comment phase at the county commission meetings?
Well,
I mean, I know you probably work during the day, but
she did go in there, but
have you? on her
I
behalf
really
as
don't
you are
like going
tonight.
down there. It's
I understand.
really depressing, but,
Well, and I know we're nicer, but,
All right, I'll give Lee May a call on that and
Yeah.
see if we can shake the tree on
but
it.
the issue is that apparently these people who are licensed to dispose of tires are just
agree.
dumping them.
They need to enforce the law.
Wrong.
They need
It's
to
so
enforce the
wrong.
law.
So,
That's
my
an environmental
neighborhood,
issue.
we will talk about this probably the last meeting, because my cluster of neighborhoods are now going to be squeezed by city of South DeKalb, Stonecrest, and just up down the road, the proposed maps from city of Lithonia. So we're
don't worry, I'm
Kind
in
of-
no man's land.
kind of flats. And the last thing is the recycling law. It's, again, this is the law that's not working.
Yeah.
Here in DeKalb, we've had people stealing from electric transformers, the lights on the highway, small businesses, residential,
Purchase.
large and small churches. I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars just for $2 or $3 of copper. They hit 4 libraries in DeKalb. West of Sheffield got hit 3 times, and on the 4th time, they just destroyed the AC. They hit the school systems. So, I mean, these 2 laws need to be worked out or something redone, or whatever. Thank you very much.
Well, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Great discussion. I apologize for having Senator Miller here. He reduces our IQ. However, no, he's a great addition. Thank you all for coming out. Again, we're doing this around the county. We'll be in the Maloof Auditorium on
21st,
the 21st. And so I invite you all to come out
I'm his secretary.
if you didn't get your questions answered here. So with that, we're adjourned.